Hey everybody, Adam and Danger here with Sports Capitalists coming at you with our wildcard weekend breakdown, mainly for the Sunday slate games. We are joined by some special guests today, the guys at the Edge DFS, Tyson and Ellie. How you doing, guys?
What up, guys? Thanks for having us, man.
Thanks for having us. We're excited to be here and doing a little collab show, man. Let's get ready for Sunday football.
Yeah, we're glad we could make this work. And obviously, they have a little bit more at stake because, well, everybody here except for myself has some playoff team in the mix. So the guys at the Edge will be rooting for the Cardinals. Danger is our resident Rams fan, and I will be spending Wild Card weekend doing some mock drafts because the Jets have two top 10 picks. So be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on the video. We're trying to grow the YouTube channel. Be sure to join our Discord. The link is going to be in the description below. We just hit over 10,000 members on our Discord, so we're doing it. It just started real small, but really great growth over the first. I don't even know that it's been a full year yet.
No,
Danger, but
I think it's been like 8 months. Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
impressive,
so-
man. That's a lot of people. That's awesome.
appreciate
Thank you.
it, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
we've been putting in the work. So we have something for everybody, even after the NFL is done. We got MLB, NBA. I'll be doing NASCAR right after the Super Bowl here. Danger dabbles in esports, so got a little something for everybody. So be sure to give it a follow. So with that, we'll jump right into it. So Danger, where do we want to start out with this one?
Well, guys, I'm going to pass the buck over to the Edge first. And, of course, we're going to start with our quarterbacks here. And at the very top, beating out Tom Brady by just only $100, we got our boy, Patty Mahomes, KC, back on top, going against the for fun Pittsburgh Steelers. What are we thinking about Patty Mahomes here at the top right now?
I mean, it's the obvious choice. Clearly, it's
Yeah.
the safest, the best choice on the slate. The one thing that worries me is, will the game script sort of play him out of this? And that's what kind of worries me. I mean, are we looking at Darrell Williams' time in the second half? Is it 28-3 at halftime? Does Patty Mahomes take it easy for half the game? I don't know. I mean, we've seen this year some crazy stuff. This could be a close game. I mean, who knows at this point? But I love Patrick Mahomes, obviously. But to me, I think in tournaments you can actually pivot pretty comfortably and stay away from him for some of your lineups.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Tyson on this one. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is gonna be one of the favorites across the board. He's gonna be the most fun to stack with, a pass catcher or two, right? You're gonna have the option to throw in Kelsey and Hill. I think that there's going to be a little bit more value getting into some of these other guys. We all know what Pat can do. We all know what he can do with these weapons, and he's priced really well. So I think you're going to be able to jam in some other pieces there. But I think we might have a little bit of better options. So we're going to be in more of an opportunity to have to come back. I mean, if we even look at the other side of the ball at Big Ben, what are they, 12.5 point underdogs? So,
Yeah.
I mean, that just implies that this could be an easily 48 attempt day for Big Ben. So, I don't know, man. I think that we're going to have some interesting stacks on the other side and might be able to save a little bit of salary and get away from the chalk.
Yeah, I think the easiest choice, at least to save money and have value, is going to be the Jalen Hurts area. As in fact, like I don't think he's going to throw any touchdown passes. I think he's definitely going to be able to run some touchdowns in himself. And, of course, more points, more value there. Jalen Hurts has just been a kind of a monster this whole, at least fantasy-wise, he's just been a monster like this whole year just because of his legs. And I feel like that's just going to be the case here again against a pretty decent Tampa Bay secondary and Tampa Bay run defense that's been somewhat not as good as normal. I'll just say that.
Yeah, paper tiger.
Yeah.
The last time the Eagles played the Buccaneers on Thursday Night Football earlier in the year, Jalen Hurts, 10 rushes, 44 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and added a passing touchdown and an interception on top of that. So I do really like him there. I agree with you guys on the Patrick Mahomes thing, primarily with the concern about, game scripting it out. 12.5 point favorites in a playoff game is pretty significant. And in my head
be there, dude.
wasn't well. Big Ben apparently agrees because
Yeah.
that's not helped by his interview that he did recently, where
Yeah,
he
yeah.
effectively. And I don't know if it was a joke, if it was like
He
that's
said
what
that
the media is
so
saying, all that
straight-faced,
kind of
dude.
stuff. But he did. I mean, I think he was kind of banking on taking a vacation. Like, I've played my last game in Pittsburgh, and he probably was rooting for that tie in the Chargers Raiders game. But so that wasn't helped from a narrative perspective. But you're right. I think there's, especially in GPP, some really interesting opportunities to pivot off of the Mahomes. And I don't know that I would go Roethlisberger, but Hurts was certainly up there. And I really like Jimmy Garoppolo, which I'm sure we'll talk more about that game later. But
Thought I was by
he's
myself,
probably,
man. That's awesome.
yeah, he's probably my favorite value quarterback on this Sunday slate. The 49ers are hot, man, and they're going against the Dallas Cowboys, who are always ripe for some sort of playoff disappointment.
Oh, yeah. It's the Cowboys, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
an old
so-
rivalry game too. Like, yeah.
Yeah,
The Cowboys
they're-
have won one playoff game since we were born, probably. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, less than the Jets for sure, which is not a good sign. So, of the non-division winners in the playoffs, I think the San Francisco 49ers at the moment are the most dangerous. And nothing to take away from the Cardinals right now. Sorry, guys, but
I agree with you.
the way-
Hey, us
that's
Cardinals
the way I
fans,
see
we
it, so.
hate the Cardinals more than anybody else, so we agree with what you're
There
saying.
you go.
I mean,
Well, then
he
you have
gets it.
something in
He's a
common
Jets
with Jets
fan.
fans.
Yeah.
Man, do we have like any love though for Tom Brady or Dak Prescott though?
We got tons of love for Tom Brady, man. I think I'm gonna have the most exposure to him. Now, depending on the weather that rolls in to Florida, so ever since I moved to Florida, I realized anything can happen. So we can't really judge it now; it's too early. But Sunday morning, if it starts getting too crazy, we're talking about gusts of up to 30 miles per hour. We're talking about thunderstorms. That doesn't really worry me too much about Tom Brady. But to me, I'm going to focus more on both sides of the run game in that game. If the weather is a little bit too crazy, you have the best run offense in the Eagles, and you've got Lenny Fournette, playoff Lenny. So that could take me a little bit away from Brady, but I really like him a lot, kind of waiting on the weather.
Gotcha. Any final comments before we moving on here to the running back situation? So we're just fading Dak Prescott all the way. Like, we just nothing for him.
I just think his ownership's going to be a little too high, and
Yeah.
he could
For
absolutely
who he
go
is,
off.
yeah.
He could go off. He could score 40 fantasy points, But I'm gonna have to fade somebody, and that might be the guy that I choose to go under the field on. I mean, Jalen Hurts too. I mean, look, he's going against a tough defense. We're talking about the pass defense, second in yards per attempt. For the Bucks, and second in yards per catch. So it's gonna be tough for him. He's gonna have to get his run game on, which could work in the game script of that rain game.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, all right.
Yeah, I would
go
say,
ahead.
just a final thought. In terms of cash games, I would definitely rather play Tom Brady over Patrick Mahomes if you're trying to make a decision amongst kind of the top quarterbacks. But, I really like, I'm leaning more towards the guys that are underdogs on the quarterback side, and primarily because I saw another interesting stat. In the last 5 years on Wild Card Weekend, underdogs are 15-7 against the spread, 10-12 outright, which isn't as great, but it's still good for underdogs. So teams that are in the playoffs, even if nobody's really giving them a chance, they bring it. So really like Jalen Hurts, really like Jimmy Garoppolo. Agree on Tom Brady. He's probably, in my opinion, the safest one. But those are kind of my top three for this slate.
Gotcha. All right. Well,
If I could just add one thing about Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
One thing. So he's first in the league in yards per catch. And he's going against a defense that's all or nothing when it comes to, you're going to have Trayvon Diggs versus Deebo Samuel, the guy who's had the most interceptions and also given up the most yards.
Yeah.
So, it's the epitome of a tournament play. He could boom or bust. He could absolutely go off, or he could do nothing. I really do think at that price tag at 5,300, after building a few lineups before the show, it really does help to get him in at that price tag, because you're saving $800 off Jalen Hurts. You're saving $1,400 off of Dak Prescott. I think it really can help when you get into the flex.
Gotcha. All right, now finally moving on to the running backs here, and actually, shockingly, we have a Najee Harris at the very top at a 6,600. Would be questionable. He was in full practice, a participant on Friday, so he looks like he is good to go for the wild card game. But again, it is the for fun Pittsburgh Steelers. Do we have really any faith in Najee Harris this game?
Ellie, I want to hear what you have to say about Najee Harris because I have some opinions here.
No.
Yeah, I actually I don't hate Najee Harris. It's obviously not a great game script for him. There's a great chance that they're going to be down 12 and a half points as Vegas has intended here. But we've seen him. I mean, what do you have? 20 targets in like week 12 or something like that. So the dude's getting love. He's going to get involved in the game. And I mean, what do we actually expect here? This is a playoff game, and it could be the last game that Ben Roethlisberger ever plays. And just given, like, I don't really get into narratives very often, but Najee Harris was pissed about the way that Ben Roethlisberger was approaching it. He deleted that tweet so fast, or his Instagram post.
Wait, what was the tweet?
Because Ben Roethlisberger was talking about how like they're not even supposed to be here, so they just want to go out and enjoy it, have a good time. And Najee Harris, I mean, the dude's from Alabama. He's like, I don't care. Like, this is the point is to get into the playoffs. It doesn't matter what your record is.
His rookie year too.
Right, and at the end of the day, you still have Big Ben, you have Chase Claypool, you have Juju Smith-Schuster, who's supposed to be active for Sunday. He's on track to play. Right, so like you've got Deontay Johnson out there, Najee Harris. Like their offense is going to be decently healthy. So I don't think Najee Harris is a bad play at all. I love the guy. Now at 6,600, I mean, I don't know if we're going to be able to spend all our salary, especially if we're not paying up for the Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Kelsey stack. So I think you're going to have to play a guy like Najee.
Yeah, it does worry me because you're right. I mean, he's the guy that can get the ball 20 times, but if they're down by 3 or 4 touchdowns in the third quarter, he's not getting the ball. He might get some receptions. He's the kind of guy that can, I would say he's got a 12, 15-point floor, which is good, but he's the most expensive running back on the slate. I don't necessarily think that should be. I have so many other running backs that I want to play. He just might not make it into my lineups.
Yeah, absolutely. Same. Like with the attitude of the Steelers, the game script going, like it just doesn't, and the value of what Najee Harris is, the salary, it just doesn't look like it's a good play this week.
I think it's fine for cash because I agree with Tyson. I think he's got a good floor still, regardless of the matchup. But his upside does concern me.
Yeah,
I mean, just one thing to keep in mind with that, though, right, is even if they are playing down, Ben Roethlisberger can't throw the ball 12 yards. So they are still going to need to get. No, I'm dead serious. Like, the dude is dust. Najee Harris could end up with 20 targets again just because he can't throw the ball anymore. So, and remember, again, not too big on the narratives here, but this is the playoffs. Your ones are going to be playing the whole game. You're not going to have any of these 60% rotations. The dude already plays 95% of the snaps anyways.
Yeah, Benny Snell's not taking snaps from him.
Right, and Najee Harris, I mean, dude came from Alabama. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's got like 3 championship rings, and he only started 1 season. So, like, this is what these guys are bred for. So, the only thing that's shying me away is initial ownership projections are pretty high on him. So, I do agree that he is a solid cash play. But I mean, when we get into the builds here, let's see if who are we going to play over him? Like, you need 2 running backs and potentially a third if you have flex. So, I mean, are you going to play Zeke and Leonard Fournette? I don't think that's any better than playing Najee and Leonard Fournette, for example. So, we'll see what we get to when we build, but don't sleep on Najee. They are going to need it.
Yeah,
and Kansas City's run defense sucks.
Yeah. Hey, you're stirring us up here, man. You're going to play Lenny, Eli Mitchell, Darrell Williams. I'll play all those guys over Najee in tournaments, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll follow up because when Frank Gore's son has 120 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns on Sunday, y'all are gonna be pissed.
Hey, it could happen. It could happen.
Where is Gore?
He's not even getting a projection right now, but he could come out and have 15 carries. I mean, Andy Reid's just
He's
going to mess
4K.
with us.
He's a man.
Yeah. So what are we thinking about the rest of the slate here? I mean, just a heads up, it looks like Fournette is a game day decision. So
He'll play.
Yeah, I was about to say, just in case though, monitor it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he is a beast. Like 5,600. That's a
cheap.
That's a slam dunk.
He'll be the highest owned player on the slate by far,
Yeah.
and I don't think that you have to avoid him in tournaments. Embrace him. No Rojo. They're not going to be handing the ball off to Keyshawn Vaughn. They're going to be giving it to playoff Lenny. He's going to get 90% of the carries. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. I think it's a free square, and I don't think you really need to think too hard about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they determine that he's healthy enough to play, the questionable tag does not, just coming off the IR. If they're determining that he's healthy enough to play, he's getting the ball. So
if they activated him, they're not going to hold him back. If they wouldn't have activated him, unless Bruce Arians is going to mess with us like he did last year with him and Rojo and randomly playing one guy over the other. But I don't think it's going to happen. They don't have the.
Rojo's
no, I know, but
out this time. Yeah.
I know, but Arians messed with us last year. He I don't know what he's doing, but sometimes he just decides to screw the field. Maybe he plays DFS too. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'll save everybody's time. Zeke Elliott, no. What are we thinking? Yeah, is anyone in disagreement with me on that?
I mean, look, we've got Tony Pollard coming back most likely. I think he is technically questionable, but he said he's going to play most likely. So to me, that really limits. Zeke Elliott 6,100. He's still $500 more expensive than Lenny. He's $400 more expensive than Eli Mitchell, who I like a lot, and Darrell Williams as well. He's more expensive. So I might end up with 0 Zeke.
Yeah,
which is kind of scary. Yeah. But if Zeke beats me, I'll just move on.
I'd rather pay up and play Najee Harris than play Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah.
And I'd rather play Tony Pollard as well over Ezekiel Elliott. Elijah Mitchell's my favorite running back on the slate. We just like we talked about with Dallas's defense. They're riding the hot hand. Just that style of offense, it almost kind of seems like, regardless of what the game script looks like, he's going to be involved, and they never really seem to abandon the run. So I think Elijah Mitchell's my favorite running back on this slate.
And going up against that Dallas defense, 22nd in the NFL in yards per carry, and they give up 112, 113 yards per game. Mm-hmm. It's a great matchup for him, and as long as he's healthy and we don't have to worry about Jeff Wilson or Jermichael Hasty or any of these other guys, I think he's a great option.
Yeah,
he was a full practice today, so seems to be good to go.
I think a sneaky play here. If it looks like he is, but he's going to be. No, he looks like he's good, but the other guy's injured. Is Boston Scott at 4,500?
Well, Miles Sanders is coming back.
Yeah, but it says here that they're expecting that they're going to be rotating because of Miles' hand. And even when they were rotating him, it looks like they do hand the ball off to Scott more than Sanders too.
And Miles Sanders broke his hand 3 weeks ago. I mean, so you're
exactly.
right. He could get a half load. Like it might not be all him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The running back.
Miles Sanders has 0 rushing touchdowns on the season.
Who?
Miles Sanders.
Oh yeah.
Dude did not score a touchdown this year.
Yeah, glad I didn't draft him.
Yeah, I drafted him. Let's not talk about that.
And we should mention real quick. I mean, this is a 3-game slate, so it's not. We're not going to dig deep into 3rd, 4th string guys like we typically would on a showdown.
It's a playoff
but we
game.
should still talk about like if you're doing 150 lineups or you're going heavy. Guys like Jordan Howard and Boston Scott, you could sneak those guys in 2, 3, 4% of your lineups just as an extra little topping on your lineups, because those guys could break. We've seen Jordan Howard score 2 touchdowns. We've seen Boston Scott score multiple touchdowns. Only if you're doing a ton of lineups would I consider them. But this isn't a full 8-game slate, so we can look at those guys a little bit more.
I found Derek Gore. He's 4K right now, and he's projected to do at least 5 points. But with Clyde Edwards out, or whatever, he actually seems kind of enticing at 4,000 for this week. What are you guys thinking about that? I
I still think Jerick McKinnon gets those carries. I think Jerick McKinnon could actually steal. He scored a touchdown last week. I think he could steal a couple carries from Darrell Williams, especially if he's kind of hurt.
Yeah.
So the name I would bring up over Frank Gore's son is Jerick McKinnon, and I know he's not his son, but it could
It's
be
kind
his
of
son.
funny, dude. It literally the whole world asked that after he scored that one touchdown.
We did when we were doing one of our videos. We had to Google it like while we were recording the video. We were like, "Is he actually?" And I was like, "I don't think so."
The time frame works out.
His son's like a junior though in college, right?
Just Frank Gore Jr. Yeah. So that guy. We're the next 100 years is just going to be the Frank Gore
Gore
dynasty.
era, dude.
Yeah.
So I do have one thing I want to say here real quick before I move on from Miles Sanders. So bring it back. I know off of Frank Gore's son, but dude is projected to come under 15% ownership at 5K. And yeah, I understand that he's playing against Tampa Bay run defense, which is one of the best in the NFL, and I expect it to get better and to button up when you're in the playoffs. But that's some pretty significant leverage. If he does end up with his first touchdown of the season, you're going to have massive leverage playing a 5K guy at less than 15% ownership on a 3-game slate. So if you are doing MME 20 max 150, I think you're dead on being at least even with the field, maybe going slightly over, just because he's priced so cheap. And it gives you unique builds because Jalen Hurts, you're not necessarily like I'm not chomping at the bit to stack him with Jalen Reagor. You know what I mean?
No.
So your stack is going to be Jalen Hurts, probably Miles Sanders, and maybe Daniel Goddard to some capacity. So I don't necessarily hate doing something like that, and it is going to have high upside with pretty fairly low ownership. So it's just something to think about.
Yeah. Do we got any final thoughts on running backs across the board here? It seems like there's slim pickings here because of the basically injuries and game matchups.
Playoff Lenny.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of him. I don't care what his ownership is.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, with that being said, we're moving on to the wide receivers. And at no surprise, we have Deebo Samuel all the way at the top at 7,900. And I just think this is a slam dunk, man. Especially against this Dallas defense, dude. Oh, he's going to make them look like idiots. Like, He literally does everything for the team. He's scored a touchdown in almost every game this year except like the ones he wasn't in.
Mostly rushing, and he had a passing touchdown last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy's
in an elimination game. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this guy's insane. I know he's going to be chalked up to maybe even like 80% ownership because
I don't think so, dude. I think people will be. No, he's the highest price on the entire slate. I think people are going to get down to that wide receiver, that flex position, and go, I don't have any money left. I'm going to have to go cheaper because you're going to have to choose between Najee Harris or, if you go with the popular quarterback stacks with Tyreek Hill, you're not going to be able to afford Deebo at all. And I think he could be I think he could be half the ownership of Tyreek Hill. I think he really could.
People are going to see Tyreek Hill $600 cheaper and flock to that. So I love Deebo Samuel.
Pay up to be different, sort of a thing,
Yeah, for sure.
So here's a crazy stat. So do you know how many wide receivers there are with 1,000 yards in receiving and more than one rushing touchdown in the same season?
Like 3.
Deebo.
Right? Is it just him?
Deebo.
it's Deebo, and he has 8? Like he's literally in a class of his own. So Debo's a guy you can even run naked if you don't like Jimmy G. Like just throw Debo in all your goddamn lineups. Like dude, I mean what does he average? Like 25 yards after the catch. You can't tackle him. He's Anquan Bolden all over again, but fast. Like
but faster.
I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I'm all in on Debo.
Yeah, so I'm definitely in Ellie's boat here, all in on Deebo. I feel like you got to find room for him. Tyreek Hill is, at least Deebo is consistent, where Tyreek Hill is very boomer bust. It's Tyreek Hill is way, like, for the price, this is gonna sound weird, just more of a punt play to me, and like how much
at this point.
How high can that ceiling go? Tyreek Hill, I think, is a gamble. I mean, for God's sakes, last 3 games, 1.2, 10.2, 3.9. And these weren't low scoring games. They won by 28, 31,
Yeah,
36.
it was just game script.
Chargers,
The
yeah.
same reasons that you might be shaky on Patrick Mahomes would be the same reasons that you wouldn't want to play Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
Tyreek, he came back from COVID. He was having some conditioning issues, and that's what he struggled with those first couple of games back. Last week, he had a heel injury, I think it was, and he didn't see the field for like 2.5 quarters, and then he came back, and by that time, it didn't matter. So to your guys' point, I think something to keep in mind here is if this really is if you believe the spread here, the 12 points, 12.5 points, I just don't know that Andy Reid has much incentive to keep jamming Tyreek Hill out there. Travis Kelce's already hard to guard.
Yeah.
Darrell Williams should be in a fine spot, even though I was touting Derek Gore a second ago. By the way, I want to comment on that. Like, I mean, I'm going to have like 2 lineups if I have 100 going. I'm not getting 20% exposure to the guy, but
Yeah.
yeah, man, I just don't know that Tyreek Hill is going to necessarily be needed this weekend. So I think you kind of lead to Travis Kelce, and I think we're right on. Debo is the guy to go to. Just get as much Debo as possible. Dude's going to be covered by Trevon Diggs. Yeah, he's probably going to get 2 pick sixes, but he's going to give up the 180 yards.
Yeah,
he's
gonna give up
literally
that
the
90
Jameis
play.
Winston of the secondary, right? Like, yeah, he's going to go get his defensive stats, but he's also going to give up some damn stats. So it's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah. I do also want to say, because we hadn't brought it up yet, but I like to attack the games with the higher over-unders on the slate. The 49ers Cowboys game is the highest over-under on the slate. It's currently at 51. The other 2 were both at 45. So
All of the Dallas receivers are priced like relatively cheap.
So if
Yeah.
if you like Jimmy G, or maybe if you like Dak, either way, I think you play Debo, you can bring it back with some of these Cowboys players, even though we think, or at least I think they're ripe for some playoff disappointment, but some points are going to be scored. So really, I really like Debo, and then if you can afford it, if you didn't pay up at the quarterback or running back position, bringing it back with a CeeDee Lamb
Dude,
or somebody along those lines.
Cooper.
Cedric
Maybe
Wilson.
even Cooper, yeah, for a little cheaper.
Cedric Wilson at 43.
Yeah, he's a great
Is
option, man.
Pretty sexy. Yeah.
You
like-
can't cover CD. You can't lock both of those wide receivers down successfully and be able to guard Cedric Wilson as well. I mean, Gallup will be gone after this year because Cedric Wilson is a great number 3, and when that guy's contract is up, he's going to get paid somewhere else.
So are we walking back our Dak stance, because we're not running Amari CD without Dak, right? So like, are we taking one guy, or are we thinking
taking
about
one guy.
sacking a little bit
I
here?
think I'm taking one guy, and
Yeah.
I would, because if I'm going Debo, I have to get someone cheap that I know his ceiling is going to be high, and that's Cedric Wilson for me.
A lot of my builds were game stacks involving this game. 3 or 4 players from this game, maybe even 5 sometimes.
Yeah.
And I honestly, get some Dak, but I rather would just pay down for Jimmy G. I don't think I would, that's a crazy statement, I know, but
Why aren't we hot on Dak, but we're hot on the receivers? Do we think like, are we trying to think that San Francisco's D is going to hold up, but we just don't know which receiver is going to have like the blowout game?
I think Dak is just inconsistent, and honestly, like the quarterback's pricing is so separated, but their median projections and their outcomes are usually pretty compressed.
He's literally like right in the middle too at 67.
So he could have a ceiling game, of course, but I would rather just pick one wide receiver or even Dalton Schultz at tight end or something like that from this game, and focus on that. And Ellie, I mean, you might be thinking completely different than me. You're probably going to get more Dak than I would, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be all over Dak. I mean, Dallas has the 3rd highest total, team total projected, and they're in the most competitive game of the day with the highest game total, right? So there's only a 3-point spread on this. That implies that Dak is going to need to stay involved in the game. Jimmy G could do normal Jimmy G things in this game
Throw
can
a
still be
pick,
competitive,
yeah.
right? We see that pretty consistently. So I think that there's a good chance that we could see Dak at a 450 yard plus game
Mhm.
in this. And I know it's difficult because I'm so biased against Dallas. I hate the Cowboys. I actively despise the Dallas Cowboys. But like it's kind of hard to ignore. Now the one thing I do really need to call out though is Mike McCarthy is hot dog shit when it comes to just being an NFL coach. I don't know what this dude is doing when it comes to game management, clock management, even just general play calling on the offensive side of the ball in important situations. So I do think that kind of knocks the Dallas offense down a little bit, but just it's too hard for me given the. I mean, what is he? Out of the six starting quarterbacks, he's I guess he's the second highest owned, which is kind of interesting. I don't mind. I guess you can pay up a little bit more and go to Tom Brady, but I like him. I like him. And then the only thing that'll change my mind really is if like we're building with him and I just can't get to the guys that I want because I still like Debo better. I still like Elijah Mitchell. I still want to get some Najee Harris and pay up for some of these guys. So if that's going to force me to spend down a little bit, then I may need to do that.
Gotcha. So again, and if we're going high on some of these guys here, we have to find cheap somewhere else, and that's generally looks like it's going to be with the Philadelphia Eagles receivers. Do we have like any faith in any of these guys?
I don't. I mean, Devontae Smith, yes. I'll be with the field. He doesn't excite me too much just because of the matchup.
You know?
Um, but Quez Watkins, Quez Watkins 3,800. He's a decent value option, but it's literally a dart throw. I don't think that these guys any of these receivers could make the optimal, except for Devontae Smith. That'd be my only option.
Yeah,
What,
I'd rather play Dallas Goddard over the Philadelphia wide receivers.
gotcha. Now, what
Oh
about
shit.
what?
So I'm sorry about the language, guys. I'm doing my best here, but Juju is 3K.
Oh,
That's our
sweet.
value.
That's what we were going to talk about. Is he is the value as long as it looks like he's going to get even 75% run. He's
Hmm.
3K.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's min price. This is the equivalent of a $200 guy on Showdown. That as long as you get a couple receptions and maybe get a touchdown out of him, you might be okay.
I don't know if you guys play NBA, but do you remember like Frank Kaminsky last year? I think he was priced like
oh
3K
yeah,
for NBA main slate, and the dude had
oh
like
yeah.
73 fantasy points. He
Hmm.
forced DK to change the way they price in that one
Yeah,
game. So this is the equivalent of that, except Frank Kaminsky is not anywhere near the level of professional athlete that Juju is.
yeah.
Like I do I need to talk about this much more? I mean, Juju
No,
3K.
he's a
Like I
great
don't know.
option. I
Yeah.
mean, he's
Yeah.
projected
Yeah.
under 10% right now. I don't think that stays. But if
No.
he's under 15, 20%, I mean, I think that's just way too low. It's a mispricing. They didn't realize he was going to get activated potentially. So we got to take advantage of that and at least
Yeah.
be with the field on him.
Yeah, and I mean, in the few amount of games that he played, 8, 4, 7, 8 targets, for not knock it out of the park numbers by any means, but for $3,000 in a game where they're likely playing from behind, if he's on the field, you almost have to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he only needs two, right? Like he's
Right.
a speed demon. The guy can take it to the house.
Yeah. A lot of his game is a lot of, because they now they don't have to rely on him as a wide receiver one now that they have more deep threats in Claypool and Deontay Johnson.
Yeah.
So he's very, and we talked about how Roethlisberger can't throw it more than 12 yards.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I was
Juju's game is over the middle, crossing routes, drags, line up against the slot receiver and just outspeed him.
I was
So all he needs to do is take a couple of them and he's going to get quite a few yards after catch.
I was going to mention that, like, the fact that Ben can't throw more than 12 yards, and no one has benefited more from that than McLeod here.
Yeah,
He
Ray
gets,
Ray, yeah.
Yeah, dude, he gets targeted almost like 10 times a game. He just needs to catch the dang ball. Again, it's being thrown by Ben, so I'm not blaming McLeod that much here. But, like, I mean, if he starts catching these things, and who knows, maybe this is the game. He's 3,600, like, this could be a monster game for him too. Like he was 4 for 9 for 37 yards. Just to give some insight on like what Ben throwing to him has been like. But
Now that would be
Juju.
if
Go
Juju
ahead.
is low owned. Sorry about that. I think we're going to say the same thing. If Juju's low owned or too high owned, it could be a nice pivot to go to Ray because we know Ray is healthy. We don't know exactly what Juju's going to do. But if Juju's active and he's fully, I'm not even going to have Ray in my player pool, I don't think.
gotcha.
So okay, I was gonna say something similar. I was gonna say if Juju it turns out to be out, then I don't hate Ray McLeod as to save some money at 36, or is it 36 or 38?
36.
36, yeah. So don't hate that at all.
Gotcha.
We got to talk
Yeah,
about
so-
Mike Evans too. I mean,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mike Evans. You got Tyler Johnson, who's the number 2 right now. Cyril Grayson or whatever that guy's name is out. So now you're looking at Scotty Miller, Tyler Johnson. You're looking at a lot of the Jalen Darden. You're looking at potentially Justin Watson at 3K. You're gonna have to like spread yourself out a little bit with if you're doing these Tampa Bay stacks and spread out the value a little bit and get a bunch of different variations. Now I will get to Gronk here in a minute, but Gronk is probably my favorite play on the slate
Yeah.
when it comes to receiving the ball. But just figure we mention that because Tampa Bay stacks are going to be probably pretty popular, but not a lot of people are stacking Tyler Johnson and Tom Brady, even though you probably should in this game.
Yeah. Well, you spoke of Gronk, but let's just get into it then with the tight ends here. And Travis Kelce, kind of shockingly most expensive at the top here at 67. But I absolutely agree with you, Tyson. Rob, the Gronk, man. Like, this has to be the best play, at least on the tight end lineup.
Yeah, we've seen since our boy Antonio Brown lost his mind at the Jets. Since that point, and we've obviously don't have Godwin, and Tom Brady doesn't have anybody to pass to. Well, his boy Rob Gronkowski is there, and it's playoff time. He's going to target him quite a bit. Last week he had 137 yards, 10 targets. I know they were trying to get him paid. That could be a reason why. Yeah. But the week before he had 115 yards and he had 10 targets as well. So they got to throw the ball to somebody, and Gronk is the guy, especially in a potential windy, rainy, nasty game. I think he is the guy. And if they're in the red zone, they're gonna throw it to him or Mike Evans. Those are the two guys that are getting the targets in the red zone.
So my concern there is if Fournette is playing, then does that limit those red zone opportunities for Mike Evans, Rob Gronkowski? We've seen Cameron Brate vulture some touchdowns from Rob Gronkowski.
They like to go to double tight ends on
2 touchdowns over the last 3 games. So I think I still think they're good plays. Don't get me wrong there, but I think we have to kind of shift our mindset of what their red zone game script looks like if Leonard Fournette is in fact on the.
Let me throw this at you guys real quick. So against the Eagles against tight ends, last in the league. They're like what the Cardinals were for 10 years against tight ends. Yeah. You see the Eagles and you play the opposing tight end. So, Brate, OJ Howard, Gronk, specifically Gronk, they're not good against tight ends,
Yeah. Let me see what they did the last time they played the Eagles.
Yeah, I can look that up here too.
I don't think.
Oh, he was out.
Gronk didn't play.
He was injured.
He was out. OJ Howard. Okay, so OJ Howard scored a touchdown, which might have been his only one on the year. So yeah, you're right. You still probably want to play the tight ends against the Eagles.
Yeah, even if it's Brate,
If they allowed a touchdown to OJ Howard, you have to.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude. Like you just look at OJ's Howard, and it's like 3 points, 2 points, 3 points, 17 points, 2 points.
Yeah, Eagles.
Yeah, Eagles suck at
1 point.
defending the tight ends for sure.
Yep.
But so we mentioned Dalton Schultz earlier. He's at 5K, decently priced, especially for this guy's ceiling. He seems to be a favorite target of Dak as well. Are we digging this guy for this week at that price?
I don't mind Dalton Schultz. I think that he's so the Niners defense, their secondary is pretty beat up. They do struggle when it comes to defending the pass, so I do think that opens up some opportunities for Dalton Schultz. But I'm just going to be really transparent with you guys. I've been playing with some builds here since I realized Juju was min price. I'll put it this way: if I run a 150 max, I'll probably have close to 90% Juju at price. There's not another player on the slate. Juju is on pace to play. He is expected to be activated from IR, and he is expected to play on Sunday. Um,
Mhm.
so at 3K, there is no other guy that's going to have any similar upside. Not even close, even if he's at 60 to 70% of the snaps he would normally play. The amount of flexibility that gives us in our lineups, like I don't need to play Dalton Schultz. Like I don't need to go anything. I can play Travis Kelce, Gronk, or Kittle in pretty much every build that I've come up with,
Mhm.
um, and pretty comfortably. So that's kind of for me right now. That's really the strategy going into this. Unless we start to see ownership projections change for Juju, like even a zero for him at 3K isn't going to kill you if you're still able to put
Pump up
Travis
and
Kelce,
somewhere else.
CeeDee Lamb,
Yeah.
Debo Samuel, Eli Mitchell, Lenny, and Dak in the same lineup, right? So I don't know, man. That's kind of where I'm at with this.
Good point,
I
man. It's a good
think
point.
I think if you like him, and you want to stack him with Dak, you can go ahead and do that. Like you are gonna need to stack your quarterback with multiple pass catchers today, and you're
Mhm.
probably gonna need to run it back with at least two from the opposing team to be able to get different. You're gonna need to stack correctly. The 3-1 is the most used stack now. Everybody knows it. The field's starting to get sharp. So you're going to need to run 3-2. You might even have to run some 4-2 or some weird stuff like that to be able to get different. So,
Mhm.
I think that that's the reason that I might look at Dalton Schultz is just purely from a roster construction side. But right now, like you guys will see when we start building with this a little bit more, like I don't know how you don't play Juju. It's just I can't find another guy that's within 1,500 of his price range that I'm comfortable with. Uh, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm not gonna play Pat Fryermuth over Juju Smith-Schuster,
Yeah.
right? Like
No.
it I mean, we'll get into it, but like just that 1v1 swap, like you don't get opportunities to punt on a main slate and have a number one receiver. Like the only reason he's not a number one receiver is just because Deontay Johnson could catch 15 passes or get 15 targets, right? And
Yeah.
then you have Chase Claypool, you have Najee Harris.
Yeah.
I think that
Deontay
opens
can
up his
also drop
opportunities.
15 passes too, by the way. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Who does that give a boost to? Juju, right? Who can
Mhm.
also drop passes. But again, at 3K, if the dude's going to get 5 targets, like I don't know there's not a single person under what, probably like 4,500 that I can guarantee the same amount of volume that Juju's going to get.
And I guess
And
you
the
bring that up
flexibility,
because, sorry, go ahead.
no. To your point, I'm sure this is what you're going to say, but what that does is it gives you the flexibility to play the tight ends that you want to play.
Yeah.
I don't want to get crazy with this position. You have Kelsey, you have Gronk, and then Kittle. I think Dallas Goddard might be the next best, and then probably Dalton Schultz. I don't necessarily want to take stabs there. Like I want to try and limit the amount of players that I have that are just dart throws. Um, being able to have Gronk and Travis Kelce or George Kittle in almost all my lineups, it saves my ass in a lot of plays.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say this on the tight end side. You're right. If you're in a position where you do want to play Juju and you can afford those guys, then it's just pick your poison at that point. Dalton Schultz, I agree. You would want him only from a roster construction standpoint. If I'm looking at him and I'm in a position where I have to save on tight end, I think I'd rather save $600 and play Dallas Goddard over Dalton Schultz. And the existence of
100% agree.
Juju completely takes out Fryermuth for me. Again, at that point, pay up $200 and grab Goddard. And if you really really need a dart throw and you're paying up at all these other positions, Cameron Braid at 2,800 isn't a bad dart throw. But again, to your point, if you're saving the money on Juju or if you're playing a Jimmy G or somebody like that at the quarterback position, then pay up a tight end, and it's just pick your poison among the top three.
Gotcha.
And if I could just add one last thing here.
Yeah, do you think?
I mean, look, we got Kelsey and Kittle. We have two of the best tight ends in the NFL. People are going to get scared away from Kittle because of recency bias. He's still the second best tight end in the NFL, in my opinion. If you want to put two tight ends in your lineups from a roster construction standpoint, and you want to have Kelsey and Kittle together, and you put Kittle in the flex, You would be unique because no one's going to do that. And I still think you have a super high upside.
And that works too, in these smaller slates. It does, obviously people don't do that a ton on the main Sunday slates when there's 10 to 12 games or something like that. But in these 2 to 3 game slates, I see a ton of the time where people will play a tight end and then another tight end in the flex position, and it works for them just because of how the game script ends up shaking out. So in these smaller slates, that's a 100% a valid strategy you could do.
Gotcha. Well, it looks like we said that we could say on tight ends, and let's quickly go over the defense here, and then after that, we'll get right into building the your million maker lineup here. So, what are we thinking here right off the bat? Defenses. Who wants to go first? Adam. You haven't had a chance yet.
I'll volunteer.
All right, go Ellie.
Yeah.
All
Get
right.
the volunteer first.
Yeah, man. So I'm gonna just keep it real simple this weekend. I'm probably just gonna go by total. My top two are gonna be the Bucks and the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I know that's not necessarily the boldest take here. The Bucks with the weather, I think, is gonna help. They're going up it's their strength versus the other team's strength, and this is a team with the championship pedigree. Todd Bowles has led a top three rush defense in the NFL for the past 74 years. So I definitely think that this is a good matchup for them. And this is a good opportunity for them to possibly get takeaways and score off them. But the other team, look, the Chiefs, the Pittsburgh's projected for 16 and a half points, whatever the hell that means. So they do have opportunity. They're a big play defense. They're going to they have the opportunity to get strip sacks and things along those lines, take it back to the house. But other than that, I think the only other option that I'm really interested in is probably the 49ers. I know it's a bit contrarian considering my love for Dak and just the offense over there, but $2,800, right? There's a very good chance that all these defenses just sit between 3 to 7 fantasy points. So, kind of punting there might be able to give you a little bit more flexibility to pay up and come off of another punt that you may not like in one of your other positions. So, I think the 49ers are interesting. They do have a pretty solid defensive line. They can end up with sacks, strip sacks, and that just increases the opportunities for takeaways.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
completely agree with the 49er position that you got going on there. And plus, Dallas has the same, weird vibe that I'm getting with the Rams right now, where they're just not going to perform as well as they should against this team. And, I even predict, I'm a Rams fan, and, last episode, I predicted that they were going to lose against the Niners. I just felt it in the air. And I'm kind of feeling it again here with this Dallas Cowboys game. Niners has a decent defense. They've been pretty consistent, on point wise throughout the whole year. They do perform when it matters. I think 49ers here at 2,800. Man, good pickup.
Yeah, if you're in a position where you can afford one of the top ones, I think I would. The Buccaneers get a little bit more of a boost if the weather is bad, but I mean we've seen a ton of Chiefs games go under this year.
Yeah.
So and again, Ben's comments certainly aren't helping matters. So they help even before Ben was 100% checked out, and maybe he was in that game. Who knows? But the Chiefs held the Steelers to 10 points just a few weeks ago, and that was at home. Wasn't a playoff game that time around. Does that give the Steelers a little extra boost? Maybe, but on the defensive side, you want to try and attack the games that have the lower over-unders. So I like the Chiefs among the top ones. I agree with the 49ers, the 49ers take. One that I'm going to throw out there if we want to talk about the boom bust that we've talked about the whole episode, the Cowboys defense, if they can take one back, you could probably, and this would be a GPP play, you probably wouldn't want to do this in cash, but I mean, you could probably still play a good chunk of 49ers players and still play the Dallas defense. And if all they have to do is bring one back or get a couple turnovers and you're still in solid shape. So, I'll throw out the Dallas Cowboys defense. Although, again, if I'm in a position where I can afford it, I'd probably go the Chiefs or the Buccaneers because I'd want to stay away from the Niners and Cowboys purely on the basis that it's the highest over/under on the day.
On a 3-game slate, you could do some negatively correlated things. Not that on a showdown slate, I have no problem playing defense against a quarterback. A quarterback throws an interception, it's -1 point. Defense scores a touchdown, 6 points. I don't think I would do that on this particular slate. But like you said, Adam, like if you're getting some, whatever optimizer you're using, make sure you're not limiting yourself to 0 players against the opposing defense, because that might actually hurt you a little bit on a slate like this. And also too, I'm not going to go too overly on any of these guys. Let's just say I was doing 100 lineups. I'm going to max exposure of like maybe 20% or 25% probably of these defenses, because you just don't know. You just don't know. If I'm doing cash, I'm going with the Chiefs most likely, because they're going against the worst offense in the history of the NFL. I mean, I don't think that's true, but they're bad. And then also Buccaneers, for cash or single entry. And for tournaments, I'm not afraid to play Eagles. I'm not afraid to play 49ers or Cowboys. Just mix it up.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the Eagles, I think I'm probably the lowest on. I'd probably, honestly, given some of the Chiefs games that we've seen, I'd probably rather play the Steelers defense over the Eagles, just based on some of the surprisingly offensive duds that we've seen on the Chiefs side. But yeah, they're bad. I wouldn't say the worst in the history, because I watched Adam Gase coach football for 2 years. So
very true, very true.
So that's a tough bar to limbo.
Hey, we had to watch Josh Rosen play quarterback for a season, so yeah, I agree.
Bro, we had John Skelton, Max Hall, Ryan Lindley. Ryan Lindley started a
playoff game.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
So we understand.
Hey, I had 2020 Jared Goff, dude. I don't know what you guys are complaining about.
Yeah.
Dude, the happiest person in the world if the Rams would lose will be Jared Goff.
Yeah.
So real quick, I do want to kind of circle back to the points you guys are all making. When we're talking about paying up for defense, here comes the broken record. You know how you get there? You play Juju.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's just start off with that then. Like, let's start doing our build, and let's just add in Juju right there and then. So at 3,000, we have 47,000 salary left here. What are we thinking? Let's just do the rest of our wide receivers here.
I think, if you don't mind, I think we should start with our quarterback and figure out our stack.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're okay with doing a Jimmy G build to start, just to see kind of if it's even worth it with Juju, maybe we should try that.
All right, adding in there Jimmy G with Juju here. Going right into our running backs here. So what are we liking right off the bat here? Of course, we're thinking about Fournette. Yeah. Going in. Are we still digging Mitchell at 5,700?
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, there's something to say that, stacking the running back with the quarterback, and the running back doesn't really catch the ball that often, but I don't hate it on a 3-game slate.
Gotcha.
But
let's go with you guys cool with going with Darrell Williams in this particular case.
I like Darrell Williams
because I want Debo and Kittle if we're building a Jimmy G lineup.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
I do want to say though, in terms of anybody that's building a lineup, just the specific style of offense that the 49ers run with Kyle Shanahan, I'm not afraid to stack Jimmy G with Elijah Mitchell and Deebo Samuel.
Yeah.
I think for the sake of this, yes, let's go with Darrell Williams and see where that turns out. But just based on how this offense works, I'm not scared of stacking the running back with the quarterback on the 49ers side.
Gotcha. So, all right, are we all in agreement here of Deebo Samuel at 7,900 with?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Slam it in. We got 23 left with 4 positions. Again, one of them being the tight end and defense, but we do have one more wide receiver position left. And what are we thinking here? I'm personally really looking at Cedric Wilson here, 4,300. He's performed well. Again, Gallup is out at IR. They, like Tyson said, they have to guard Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, and that's just going to open up for Wilson, who has been performing extremely well since he's been on the field.
I don't have a problem with that. I think you got to get one Cowboy receiver in here, and you rotate them out if you're doing multiple lineups. So, yeah, let's go Cedric Wilson.
Gotcha. Cedric Wilson, 1,870, 700 left. Going into our tight ends here. And are we paying up for Gronk here at 64? leaving
I
us
think
with like
we're building a
12,000.
Jimmy G lineup.
Only if
Yeah.
we're willing to do 2 tight ends.
Yeah.
Do
Because
it.
we want to get
Do-
Kittle.
do it.
Lineup. You kind of have to have
We should
Kittle.
be able. Yeah, we should be able to get Kittle, and probably the Bucks defense here still,
Dude.
right? Like,
So with this defense, well, let's get our defense in first. What are we thinking here? Because we have 6,500 left over with this lineup so far.
Could do Chiefs or Bucks, either one.
Chiefs, I'm actually really liking Chiefs. So we have 3,200.
Rather good Chiefs.
So I think the biggest upgrade that we could do from this, I mean, yeah, maybe a wide receiver, but I think we could do a big upgrade with our QB here, going to either with like a Tom Brady or something.
I have 9,600 left. What did you say we have left?
We have 3,200 left over after
Did I
building
mess up?
put in
everything.
Kittle at the flex, right?
Yeah, I have Gronk and Kittle.
Oh, Gronk and Kittle. Okay,
Oh,
got
okay.
it.
So,
I feel you.
So
this
here's
this
our
is
lineup
where
that-
we need to look at.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
let me just say it real quick. So here's our lineup, and we have 3,200 left over. We have Jimmy G, Lenny, D. Williams, Juju Smith, Debo Samuel, Cedric Wilson, Rob Gronk, George Kittle, and the Chiefs. Again, with 3,200 left over. With that money, where do you think we could do the biggest upgrade here?
We could pull Gronk
All right.
in the flex, and you could choose. I mean, anybody. You have 9,600, so you can get anybody you want. You could get Tyreek. You could get Mike Evans. You can get Mike Evans, and then potentially go up to Tom Brady at the quarterback position as well, like you were saying.
So hear me out here. I love Cedric Wilson, but I don't think we need Cedric Wilson and Juju in the same lineup. So we either come up off of Juju and we go to a guy like, well, I guess you're looking
Tyler
at
Johnson
like
or something.
Rashad Perriman, Tyler Johnson, yeah, Chase Claypool. I think that might be a little bit out of our range there. Or we come up off of Cedric Wilson, and we can still probably get to a guy like TD Lamb, Deontay Johnson, or Mike
Yeah.
Evans, and then we can
I
keep our
think
Jimmy
in
G
this
stack.
particular scenario, the biggest upgrade would be Cedric Wilson.
To CD Lamb.
To CD.
Yeah, probably CD just because you want to bring it back in that Cowboys-Niners game. I mean, you could still play Mike
Yeah.
Evans. You could play any receiver at that point, but
Right.
just
Dude.
purely from a stacking perspective, I would want to bring
Call-
it back with CD.
Call me crazy. So we have 600 left over with Jimmy G, Lenny, Williams, Juju, Debo, CD, Kittle, Mike Evans, and Chiefs. Call me crazy, but I really want Gronk in, and we have just enough to get him in. I would much rather have
Do it.
Gronk than Kittle.
Okay, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, do it.
I mean, obviously, he doesn't.
I like Kittle. I like Gronk more in this particular slate for sure.
Yeah, and yeah, man, but that looks like a really good line.
Who do you have in the flex? Mike Evans.
Mike Evans in the flex.
Okay. Yeah.
And so this is kind of like my point when it comes to Juju. Like we start seeing some of these lineups, and the fact that you're not stacking Tom Brady with Mike Evans and Rashad Perriman, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm more comfortable just punting a Juju Smith-Schuster and having a lineup that has Eli Mitchell, Debo Samuel, and CeeDee Lamb. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And this has 0 salary remaining. I mean, we've maxed it out. This is nice, man. I like this.
Well, yeah, I'm
Wanna
liking it
try
too. Well,
something.
guys, there's our official lineup for the Sunday slate here. Man, any final thoughts that we got going on here? Just looking at this lineup that we made.
I mean, you could switch out. I think you could downgrade one of these guys like Mike Evans or even go from Gronk down and then get a different quarterback. Because I don't absolutely love Jimmy G. If I'm doing 100 lineups, maybe I get 25%, 30% of him. I still think that is going to be over the field. So I think you could switch the quarterback out, but game stacks, man. We got to focus on the game stacks, I think, on this particular slate.
Yeah. Yeah, my final thought is my biggest game to attack is going to be the 49ers Cowboys. I like the 49ers to cover and potentially just win outright. So I think there's going to be a lot of points to be had there. But don't shy away from, I think in cash it's fine to to take the favorites and run with them, your Tom Brady's and maybe even Mahomes if you believe in Mahomes more than Tom Brady in this particular day. But again, don't shy away from the underdogs in these games. Even if these games get out of control, the underdogs aren't going to rest their starters at any point. There's no point. So don't be afraid to take some of the less popular plays, even if you think they absolutely get stomped, because fantasy points are fantasy points. They're going to stay on the field.
Gotcha. Ellie, any final thoughts?
Yeah, the only final thought I got is just keep an eye on Juju. I mean, if this dude is active and good to go, I mean, this is probably the last game of the season. The dude is about to be didn't he just resign, or is he going to be an upcoming free agent again? I think there's still some questions about what can happen with Juju.
Yeah.
He might actually be a free agent. So, this is going to be the most recent game fresh in everybody's minds coming into free agency. The dude's min-priced. And he's Juju Smith-Schuster. Like, this season is the only reason he doesn't have fantasy points because he's been injured. Right, the dude destroys. He's historically destroyed, and 3K is just an egregious mispricing by DraftKings, and they know it. That's why he's hidden so far down in Roto Grinders player pool, so that nobody else will see it. So
if he gets,
that's all my thoughts, man.
If he gets 4 receptions for 50 yards, I think that's totally a doable thing. It's not crazy. I wouldn't say that I would be confident with anybody else in that price range to get that. If he can get you 9-10 fantasy points, he could, because of the type of build, he could be in the optimal lineup. Yeah. And imagine if he does get a touchdown, he could propel you quite a bit.
Yep.
Gotcha. Well, with that being said, Tyson, Ellie, thank you for joining us. Again, subscribe to them. They're from the Edge DFS over there. We also do a podcast over there. Their link in description is going to be down in the description. And guys, thank you for joining us. Again, like, comment, and subscribe. And hey, best of luck to you this Sunday.
Thanks, guys.
Good luck, everybody.
Take it easy.
Fun.